All right. But again, I teach at a very small high school. My name's Scott Anderson. I teach at Judah. It's a K-12 building and district. Anybody know where Judah's at? You do. Darlington knows where it is.
I just looked it up.
You just looked it up. We're at the very southern part of the state. 315, like I said, 92 in the high school. I am the high school math department. So I teach Algebra 1A all the way to Calculus AB, and I teach physics every other year. So my reality is 8 preps, 8 hours. All right? So everything I do has to fit in that. So when we talk about this, how many of you have been to Line by Design, the actual course? Oh, just a couple of you. So we're going to talk about it. So you two might be bored a little bit. We're going to get everybody caught up real fast. But it isn't the course exactly, but there's some really good things I think I've done with it. And you can see what you can take and steal what you want, and I give my things away. All right? So, go ahead. Again. So this is Line by Design cooking info. And it all started back in summer of 2010 for me. My administrator came to me and said, Scott, you got to go to a conference up in Monona Grove called Line by Design. It's going to make our ACT scores better. Okay. Suddenly you, English teacher and the science teacher. Okay. What's it aligned to? I don't know. Okay. All right. I can look at that. But so I go up to Monona Grove, and I meet Chris Rugg from Hershey High School. I really enjoy Chris. He's a really good guy. I get this huge binder with all of this stuff. I get real excited when I see the binder. I'm thinking, there's a lot of paper here that I can use, hopefully. He starts presenting his efforts to align their math instruction to the ACT standards. And it's not aligned to the Illinois standards, but actually to the ACT exam itself. So I like that idea because the first thing he says, those standards haven't changed since 1959. For me, that's like, wow. I've only been teaching a little while, 6 years. I'm a second career teacher, but I've already seen that standards change a lot. And the thought of having standards, you get these on the internet, that don't change is really exciting to me. And again, the ACT is broken up into basically 8 different categories. And I was hoping this would be bigger, but it says basic operations, probability, numbers, expressions, equations, graphical representations. Those are the major categories in the columns. And then there are rows here that split up the actual ACT score system. 13 to 16, 17 to 19. If you can do those skills, that is the score you would get on the ACT. And so he is going over that this is how they have set up their curriculum. Fewer standards, clearer objectives, higher expectations. That really sold me too. I really believe we have to go very deep. We have to do big things. And if you have 1,000 things to cover, it's really hard to get there. I like the idea of assessment, curriculum, and instruction all being aligned. I took my education classes in 2005, well, at night. And that was a big time with backward design. I don't know how many have done that, where you have the end in mind, and you do that. And again, that's how I like to look at my classroom. Not real excited about deconstructing ACT standards. Now, for those of you that weren't at the course, that's the idea that you look at the standard, and it says, complete a simple arithmetic problem. And you agree that this is, Johnny had 7 apples, he got 4 more apples. How many apples does Johnny have? 11. But deconstructing what the standard is to an actual type of word problem. And for me personally, being the only math teacher, I don't have to argue about that. I do, when I see it, I make that standard. And a lot of time was spent the first day talking about how you deconstruct these standards. And no offense, it was like, ugh, I'm not horrifically interested in this. But again, I come back and I am really excited by the idea of, listen, I have a clear objective of what I'm going to assess. And the ACT is something that juniors want to do well on, right? They might only care that year, but they want to do well on it. But Aligned by Design really is based on things only a large school. You have to have, and I'm going to call it tracking or grouping, because you're putting students in, you can come up with a different word, but Hershey High School in Illinois think had 41 math teachers, if I recall, when I asked you. And they offer a prep class, a regular class, and an honors class at each level, at each hour of the day. And that way, if a kid's really doing well here, he can be bumped up here during the same hour, mid-quarter. Or vice versa, a kid here can be bumped back mid-quarter. And they are moving kids. And there's not much movement, he told us that. Algebra Judah is 6 hours every year. That's it. And then geometry's first hour every year. That's it. I mean, I'm the teacher. I can only do one course. So the idea that I could have anything like this is not realistic. Also, the idea that I could separate my students into 3 collective units of different courses is just completely out of the realm of possibility. There's a lot of talk up there about what current math is. And, you know, depends where you're at. But my math program was this, so I'm going to take a second. It was focused on algorithms. It was skill-based in isolation. No context, no word problems. I awarded partial credit, and he talked a lot about this. Partial credit is partial learning. And I was like, oh, I'm wrong. I sat in there and went, I don't buy it. Come to that later. And I clustered. I would cover a topic, 20 questions in the book, 20 questions on the test. And that's something we gotta be careful. We'll come back to that again though. But overall, he talked a lot about assessing at the quarter. See where the students are. You're driven by the data from these assessments. And again, 41 teachers in the district, they all gave the same end of quarter, end of semester tests. They'd analyze the data and decide where their students were at. And that just seems like a good system for making decisions. But I kept seeing this curriculum. 10 teachers making the algebra curriculum. And I like to think of myself as superhuman, but I'm not 10 humans. It just came up over and over and over again. And I also discovered that I wasn't going to be able to steal anything from this guy. And what I mean by that, this book is about deconstructing standards. These are not his assessments. These are not his homework assignments. These are not his quizzes. I think Hershey High School is going to end up selling those as some sort of package, because there was nothing to grab and take home. So again, you have this class where you spend 2 days, and as a small school teacher, I want to put some things in my pack. That wasn't going to happen today. So this is all good. I can get the idea. Perfect world. You're Hershey. You can do this. How do I do it? And I asked him. I actually raised my hand at the end of the first day. Chris, this sounds awesome, but how do I, as one man, do this? And I'll never forget his answer, because he looked at me and said, I don't know how you can do this. That's what he told me. And he's right. I don't know how you could do this. This has to have a certain mass of math teachers, and you said you had 13. I think that's just barely big enough. Personally, you probably know better than me, but it takes a team to set up a line by design course. I don't think, when I talk small school update, I'm thinking 1 math teacher in the high school, maybe 2, maybe 3. And there's no way schools of that size can do this program. You have too many preps, too much stuff. So I can tell you what I do now. What principles I stole out of this, how I stretch, hold, twist. All right? And came up with some things that I think are working. And I have some okay data, but again, Judah, 25 kids. There are 22 in the graduating class this year. Statistically, I am insignificant. So, he was right. I'm a small district. I don't have time, money, or staff. One of my big challenges with Common Core right now is, I don't want to say this wrong, but I simply can't afford to make a mistake when I work my next textbook. And that's why I keep holding on. I keep working inside the curriculum I have. Because once I buy this next set of texts, they'll be my texts for 10 years for sure. I'm working on textbooks that I buy used right now, just trying to hang on. So, it is simply not possible. I have to have a textbook as a spine of my curriculum. If I'm teaching 8 preps, and if you're a smaller school and you're teaching 4 or 5, you have to. You have days where you have to go to the book, pick it up, flip it open, and go, all right, I'm going to do this today. Because I have a wife, I have a 6th grader, a 4th grader, and a 2nd grader, and they like to see me. And if you try to do this in a single school, you'll be a hermit. You will never do anything. All right, and that's supposed to remind me to take a drink and make sure I'm going slow enough.
I I could just not put the next slide up.
Am I going fast?
Yeah, well, is he going fast?
No.
All right.
Okay.
All right. If I go fast, please tell me.
Okay.
Listen, if I tried to set up this system, even partially, for a couple classes, it's the amount of paper we have to do, because it's used, the whole system says, use the book as a resource. That is not possible for me. I can't use the book as a resource. I have to have some sort of curriculum. And I do jump around, chapter 1, chapter 5, skip lessons, pick this, pick that. But I am always working within a textbook. It is just my reality. So I looked at this and thought about it, and what is the low-hanging fruit? What can I pick off of this? Because Judah needed some ACT help. What can I pick off this and have some returns? And that's kind of the goal. And I was a little uneasy with this, and because it was hard, and I didn't want to make some of the revisions I would have to make, because my kids are good at math, right? I'm teaching them. They're doing great. How much help do I really need? And I had a little ego into this one. But I'm a goal setter. I was an engineer for 12 years. So I came up with 3 goals. First one was any assessments I create based on this. I just want to see improvement in those assessments. I just want to see, if I'm assessing something, do I see what am I getting the scores I want to progressing in a positive manner? That's a really loose goal. The bigger ones, I wanted to increase my ACT score by half a point from roughly the state average of 22, which Judah wasn't at, to 22.5 on the math. 3% increase in the first 2 years is the goal. The big thing is I had to stay within the current syllabus. I had to stay within the current text. This cannot be something else. This had to come and fit in a very small window of time for this to work for me. So you get the student comes back from the ACT, SAT, any power test, and they come to you and say, oh, Mr. Anderson, I knew him, and I couldn't remember how to do it. That's a problem, and that's the student. And the worst part is they don't even realize what they missed. Now, if you were at the ACT, this Aligned by Design, you know this. We're going to take a second here to go through it. Look at the following problem. I've got to do some math, right? We're math teachers. -2 + 6 minus the absolute value of 3 minus quantity -2 squared. And we all know if I get 4 minus 3, I get 1 minus 4. The answer is D. But if you have your students who knew them, there are 2 common mistakes I knew them students make. One is they forget absolute values are a distance, and they think it just means change of sign. So minus the absolute value of 3 becomes add 3, right? And 2 ways to do it. They either screw up the exponent and get -4, or someone pointed out to me yesterday when they were looking at the error, they do the multiplication before the exponent and still get 4, right? So these distractors are there. The ACT lets you get these answers. So when you look at this problem, and I do the math, -2 + 6, 4, minus a -3, 7, -4, 3. I knew it, Mr. Anderson, I got this one. No, you didn't. 4 minus 3 is 1, plus 4. I got this one, Mr. Anderson, it was 5. No, you didn't. And if you make both mistakes, I think